Welcome, students. Virtual Summer Melt University 2020. I'm Vince Thompson, founder, chairman, CEO of Melt, and I can't believe it's already week 2 of Virtual Melt University. We are off to a tremendous start. So first of all, I want to thank you, the student, for your participation. Very important and very honored that you would take your time to be a part of this. Secondly, I want to thank so far our podcast speakers and participants. Just amazing. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, we had tremendous interviews yesterday with Ross Bjork, the athletic director of Texas A&M, talking about various job opportunities on campus and athletic departments. We got a tremendous one coming up with Tracy Wolfson, who is a CBS broadcaster, amazing lady, graduate of Michigan, University of Michigan, talks about careers in broadcasting. So I encourage you to listen to those podcasts, re-listen to those podcasts, take those great takeaways from there, reach out to those individuals, network, write them notes, send them your resumes, those types of things. We had Jason Belzer, some great publications that you need to be reading every day. D1.Ticker, Athletic Director U. Adam White founded Front Office Sports off of a college blog he started at the University of Miami. Follow Front Office Sports. Taylor Bloom of Sport Techie. That's another one to be following as well. Sports Business Journal is going to do a nice piece on us tomorrow. Michael Smith, that's something that you should be following as well. Remember, if you do 100% participation of all the podcasts and all the lunch and learns, you're entered to win an all expenses paid internship live to Melt in 2021 when everything kind of gets back and going into open. There's still time to continue to make referrals. You'll be credited with that for as well. So continue to encourage your classmates, your teachers, your professors, your career guidance counselors, and even other graduates who are out networking for jobs during this time of this pandemic and this crisis, because this is what we're doing it for. We're doing it for you. We want to help you. We want to help you network. We want to help you build relationships. We want to give you those tips of building brand new. We're going to teach the first chapter of the book today. So there's still time to do that. So make the referral, sign up, and with campus restrictions easing up, it looks like that you're going to go back to school. It may be a little different from going to the games. It may be a little different in the spacing in the classrooms. You may get out around Thanksgiving or so, but our plan is to make you a paid campus Melt ambassador when you go back. So it's very important you participate in these things. We've got some more podcasts coming up. Mark Chardy, Cairdi, look him up, one of the most prolific Hollywood sports producers in the country. Miracle, Rookie, $1 Million Arm, Secretariat, tremendous movies. He's going to teach you how to get in maybe to the Hollywood business. As we said, Ty Votaw, dear friend of mine with the PGA, if you want careers in golf. Jim Cavalier is going to be tremendous. Influencer, NFLCR. Look it up. It's a tremendous social media service for student athletes. Going to create a lot of opportunities when name, image, and likeness comes aboard. Jim Dinkins, the president of Coca-Cola North America, a very dear friend, gave me my start with Melt and Melt University. Tremendous. Greg McGarity, careers in athletic director, University of Georgia. Seth Freeman, the CMO of Buffalo Wild Wings, and other big names, Robert Irvine, Chef Irvine, Restaurant Impossible, Craig Silver, executive producer, CBS Sports, and even our dear, dear friend, Paul Feinbaum. I'm wearing his good togs today. So, and if you want the free t-shirt, we'll have those for you at the end of the summer with, as I said, 100% participation. We were going to try to lure Paul Feinbaum on at some point on the podcast to talk about his career climb. So to sort of take it from the top again, what you've heard from these great speakers is the importance of relationships, the importance of networking, the importance of effort. There are going to be obstacles. You're going to get thrown off the saddle. You're going to get the ability to climb back on that saddle. It's how you climb back on that saddle. Certainly, we all know now in what we're living in these crazy times with COVID-19, life is not linear. And as I continue to tell you, with the podcast and then with our broadcast today, is that the job market is even going to be more brutal than it already was post-COVID. Everybody wants to be in the event business. Everybody wants to be in the sports business, where a lot of people do as well. And so my goal, if I can help one of you land that coveted first job post-crisis, I will have done my job. I will have given back. So like I said, we got the first 4 chapters of the book done, Building Brand You. So what I'm going to do throughout the summer is I'm going to continue to teach from my perspective, and what I go onto campus and talk about, what it takes to land that coveted first job in the post-COVID world. I see hundreds of resumes a year, conduct hundreds of interviews, see the best, see the brightest, see some that aren't the best and some aren't the brightest, but talk about what's going to put you in that 5 percentile. And then, as I say, it's a numbers game. We get you in that 5 percentile. At some point, you're going to land that job. You're going to land that fish. That putt's going to drop. You're going to sink that putt. You're going to get that job. And I want to equip you with the tools to help you land that job. So chapter 1 is going to be entitled, Take the Shot. What do I mean by that? The great Wayne Gretzky, famous hockey player, says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And there's never been a truer axiom. And I'm going to use myself as a teaching example today. I really never thought that I was going to be the CEO of a sports marketing firm in one of the biggest major cities in the country. I grew up very, very in a great little town in Lower Alabama called Chatham, Chatham. My parents still live there. And it was a town of one red light. My dad was the mayor. He had a grocery store. Yep, there's the red light right there. And but it was an ideal existence for me. It was really only the biggest place I'd ever been, short of going to Mobile on a shopping trip or going to see a Saints game occasionally in New Orleans. That was my favorite team back in the day. And so, but I grew up, surrounded by love. I grew up fishing. I grew up playing sports. I grew up watching sports. I grew up writing my heroes back in the day when the heroes would write you back and send you their autographs and those types of things. And if you ever watched the Andy Griffin Show, it was very similar existence for me, because that's basically what we did every day. And so I get to Auburn, and it was, to say the least, a shock to my system. It was the most people I'd really ever seen. Like I said, I'd been to some football games and some stadiums at Auburn, Alabama, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Senior Bowl, Mobile, but I'd never been around that many people before. And I immediately was overwhelmed. And so I know a lot of you go to school. Yet obviously you're way more prepared now with the advanced placement classes, with being able to take your SATs and your ACTs and have tutors and those types of things. None of those tools existed for me. I'll tell you, I made 21 on the ACT. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh my God, we didn't even know a score would go that low. And so, so I was overwhelmed, to say the least, and couldn't find my place. So I will tell you, that's not an abnormal feeling for you when you go to school. And so then I also immediately sort of knew, I'm like, hey, there's sort of a, I don't know, what shall we say, a caste system around here, not of the haves and the have-nots, but I figured out pretty quick that a lot of kids had been better prepared than I had been. I had a great high school, great public education growing up, but I could just tell that there was a little bit of a difference. Didn't know what, couldn't put my finger on it. Also knew I wasn't getting quite the experience that I knew I should be getting at Auburn University. I lived off campus. I walked to school. I wasn't, networking, wasn't making a lot of friends and those types of things. And so went home for the summer and said, hey, there's got to be a different way to do my college experience. You only got 4 or 5 years there. You're paying and investing a lot of time, money, energy, and resources. You got a lot of people pulling for you to get that degree. And so I came back in the fall of 1981, determined to make something different and better that experience, but still did not know what that was. Although I still knew I had a passion for sports, and I knew I had a passion for writing. And we had a brand new football coach that fall, Coach Pat Dye, rest his soul, just passed a couple of weeks ago. So there was excitement in the air about the new program. It was before Bo Jackson and Charles Barkley got to Auburn, but not much longer after that. And so I went to my first journalism class, and there was a guest professor. There was a famous journalism class, JM 101, at Auburn, taught by Dr. Jack Sims, amazing professor, but you had to make an 85 to pass the course. And I was like, well, that could be the end of my journalism career pretty quick. But there was a guest lecturer, a gentleman by the name of David Housel, who was the sports information director at Auburn University. And so he talked about the press box, and he talked about the sideline, and he talked about the practices, and he talked about the games, and he talked about the locker rooms. And I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that there could be a career in sports publicity. I didn't realize there was a department, and I loved how he described his job. And how he described his job is what I'll tell you today. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of how I've always felt it. And if you do what you love, the money will follow. Yes, you got to make a living. Yes, you got to save. Yes, you got to do a lot of these types of things, but don't make money the number one objective of your career pursuit. Do what you love, follow that passion, follow it with zeal. As we say, the letters NO are just the first two. They don't spell no. They're the first two letters of not yet. And so I said, man, I want to be there. And all I could think about during his lecture. And so after the class, I said, well, I'm just going to go up and take my shot. And I said, Mr. Howes, I'm Vince Thompson. I'm from Chatham, Alabama, small town like yourself. He's from Gordo, Alabama. He talked about that and how he had worked his way all the way up to be sports information director. And I said, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And he said, well, come over this afternoon and we'll sign you up. And I was like, wow. And so that was, I go into the Auburn Coliseum, and it was amazing. And they put me right to work. And it was an amazing experience. But that day changed my life as well, because David Housel was also the faculty editor of the student newspaper called the Auburn Plainsman. So he said, hey, you need to come over and start laying the paper out, start writing some articles. You're going to be exposed to practices and games. You can translate that exposure into knowledge, into writing articles for the paper. And he said, not only that, I'm the house father of Phi Gamma Delta, the Fijis at Auburn. And you seem like you'd be kind of a part, like a part of that group. And you'll laugh at this, but my only perception growing up of fraternities was Animal House. And if you hadn't seen the movie with John Belushi, it's a classic, and it's funny, but that was my perception. I said, no, I don't think that's going to be for me. He goes, no, just come over and have lunch with us. And so subsequently joined the fraternity. Not sure quite how I got in, but it was a tremendous blessing. So made my lifelong friends in the fraternity. Wound up writing dozens and dozens of articles for the Auburn Plainsman, became one of their sports editors, and spent 4 years of covering some of the greatest athletes in the world. Coach Dye, Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley, Frank the Big Hurt Thomas, Rowdy Gaines, one of the greatest swimmers of all time. Harvey Glantz was one of the fastest men, if not the fastest man in the world at the time. And when I came out of Auburn, I had written probably about 200 articles. So I had this great resume that was full of real life experience, covering football games and basketball games and women's basketball games and all these amazing things. I had built this tremendous network of, driving the Paul Feinbaums of the world back to the airport or back to their hotel room or back from the press box after the game. Dick Vitale, Coach Vitale is still, the amazing sportscaster on ESPN. Brent Musburger, Vern Lundquist, some of the great ones who now are my dear friends, professional colleagues, and we do a lot of business activities and ventures together. But none of this, even this big fancy office and everything, would not have happened had I not taken that first shot. So I want to tell you, when you get back to school, you are surrounded by this amazing professional laboratory, no matter what it is that you want to pursue. If it happens to be sports and live events, you're not going to be in a better place in the world. And I want to continue to urge you to take that shot. If you know College Game Day is coming to your campus, if you know SEC Nation is coming to your campus, or ACC or Big 10 or Big 12 or Pac-12 or whatever it is, seek out those opportunities to help with those broadcasts. Seek out, as you'll hear from Ross Bjork and others, those opportunities to go volunteer at the athletic department, because not only are you getting that knowledge, you're getting that exposure, you're building that network, you're building those relationships. Get you some business cards and some handwritten note cards. And when you encounter these folks, write them a little note, give them your business card, but you're beginning to pad that resume. You're beginning to build your brand story. You're beginning to build brand you. So when you have this beautiful resume that we're going to teach you about over the summer, you're going to stand up in that 5 percentile. You're going to have those networks. And that's what we're talking about with the podcast today. Not only listen to those podcasts, not only ascertain that information that you're getting from these people who are willingly volunteering their time, follow up with them. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. We're going to teach you how to build a really great LinkedIn page. Find out what their business address is. At some point, we'll all be back in our offices, and write them a note. Send them your resume. Tell them how much you enjoyed their podcast. You're building that network. You're building that relationship, and you don't know where all that's gonna wind up, because, as I tell you, people like me and Craig Silver and Paul Feinbaum or Ross Bjork, whoever it is, we were once you. We're just doing it in a different level now. So we have an empathetic ear for people who are reaching out. And I use a term that you're going to hear a lot this summer called being relentless. Because when I got to Auburn, as I talk about, I wasn't aware of this great big world. I've been kind of lived in this very, very small town, sheltered existence. And, but I knew pretty quick then too, I knew I had another advantage. I said, I know I got a great work ethic, so I can outwork people. A lot of times, 90% of it is work ethic and attitude. I also knew, I was like, I'm going to put more effort in. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work smarter. I think my ideas are better. And hey, this is going to be a journey. Rome was not built in a day. It's not going to be a great overnight success, but I'm going to have a focus and I'm going to have a goal. Now, I know I'm going to probably get thrown off of that a little bit. I'm going to get thrown off that saddle. As I told you, I got fired from my first professional job at Colonial Bank in Birmingham Now, obviously, if you can see me sitting in a bank, it probably was not a great fit, but it wound up being one of the greatest things that ever happened. Then I got on a governor campaign and we got clobbered. So immediately I was 0 for 2 coming out of the box, and broke, and not quite sure what I was going to do. But I knew I could be relentless. I knew I had experience that I had gained at college that was translatable and transferable into some very successful jobs. And so going back to the central point of chapter 1, take that shot. And by the way, you're not going to make all those shots. But I have a saying in life: the only failure in life is the failure to try. And we're going to talk about this all this course. I want you to write this down, and I want to keep this is going to be another one of the Vinnyisms. The only failure in life is the failure to try. Because everybody asks me what I do for a living. I say, I'm in the rejection business. I get told no all the time, just like you're going to get told no. I get knocked off the saddle all the time. Our business has been knocked off the saddle right now. We're in the live events business and we're in the sports business, and there aren't many of each of those right now. It's coming back. And so, but that one encounter with David Housel changed everything in my life. But I wonder what would have happened had I just packed my bag that day and gone back, to my apartment. What would have happened to my career then? So never hesitate to take that shot. And when I go talk to kids on campus, a lot of kids will stay behind afterwards. They come up and look me in the eye. They thank me for taking my time to come down and make that effort. They hand me their business card. They hand me their resume. They ask me, can they reach out to me on LinkedIn? They ask about internships. And even some of the better ones write me a note and tell me how much they appreciated me taking the time to come and share what wisdom I have with them. And let me tell you, those little tricks of the trade stand out. Take the shot. Be relentless. Put yourself in the position to win the ball game. And that's what we tell our kids a lot, is that you're not going to win them all, but at least you've put yourself in that position to win. And at some point, you're going to, that putt's going to fall. You're going to win that job. You're going to land that job. And because you don't know if you're ever going to, you don't know if you're in the right place at the right time until you realize you're in the right place at the right time. And so when you go back to school, there's going to be a lot of guest lecturers. There's so many great career development offices now at your universities. Take advantage of those people. Those people are there to help you get that job. They know you're investing a lot of time and money. They want to help you, and your success is their success. So don't fail to take advantage of that career development. Always keep your eyes open for a lot of guest lecturers and career days on that campus, because those are tremendous networking and relationship building opportunities. I participated in one last spring, I believe it was, at Auburn. And we do one every year at the University of Alabama and Georgia and other places. But these are great resources. These are great speakers. But not only do you need to go to those career development, you need to go prepared. What do I mean by that? Have your business card, have your resume, and do the research and the homework on whoever it is that you're speaking to or reaching out to. Put yourself in the position to win, because you're sending these signals. Basically, every one of these interactions is basically an audition. And so we're going to talk about this, all summer, because let me just tell you this. As I said, I'm just like you. It's just a different level in the 40 years removed from Auburn University, but I still have that empathy for the kids out there who are trying. And so when you go back to school, no matter what it is, take advantage of the career development, take advantage of the speakers, build those relationships with those teachers and professors. Look around you for opportunities. I mean, there's events going on in campuses every day. So put that effort in there, whether it's the sports information department. That's me right there. Yes, believe it or not, that's actually me on the right in the dark shirt. We actually used to string cable for ESPN, and that's at an Auburn basketball game, I'm assuming, or women's basketball game, back when cable television only was in about 10 million homes. And Ted Turner himself used to actually come to Auburn to sort of oversee some of the productions back in the old days. But all of this, that's John Johnson, sports editor of the Dothan Eagle, dear friend of mine. I built a great network among all the students and all the student assistants even back then, and we all stay in touch. And you have the tools to stay in touch now. So there's no excuse not to put that effort in, whether it's a major concert on campus, whether it's a cause, whether it's a charity, whether it's community, whether it's a fun run, or even if you're working your way through. This is all about building that brand you. As I say, if you're working in a coffee shop or you're working in a restaurant, you're not just a barista or a waiter or a waitress. You're on the front lines of consumer behavior. You're on the front lines of a buy-sell transaction. You're on the front lines of retail. You're interacting with customers. So that's how you will begin to position yourself on the resume. Because here's another thing. You're supposed to have a good time in college. I get that. I had a lot of fun as well. In fact, I think David Housel may have fired me from sports information about 6 different times, because sometimes I like to go to an intramural football game. Sometimes I like to do other fun things that you do on campuses on pretty spring days and fall days and some of this way. But I want you to think about this. This is all about a job audition. Everything that you're doing in college is based on the outcome. And what is the outcome? Landing that first job. Right? So, because think about it like this. So if you come out of school and I'm looking as an employer to invest tens of thousands of dollars in you as an employee with your salary and your workspace and your phones and your health insurance and your 401k, that's a major investment. I'm looking at you as an investment in my, in Melt, no different than you're looking at making an investment in me in Melt. So you got to begin to look at yourself that way, particularly in the business that we're all in. It's all about brand. So everything that we're going to talk about this summer is based on building that brand, based on building that outcome, based on positioning yourself to win that coveted first job in a post-COVID world. I happen to not care as much about grades, but a lot of people do. I think it's important to make the grades. I just didn't have the attention span to make really good grades, except in my journalism classes. So I knew I had to make up extra effort to sort of overcome that. So grades is a big part of that. Experience is a big part of that. Initiative is a big part of that. Self-starting is a big part of that. Show those qualities in the resume, which we're going to talk later. Because as I said, the competition in the post-COVID world is going to be brutal. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's several things that I mean. Before COVID, the competition for entry-level jobs in the sports and event level world was brutal. So now with millions and millions of people out of work, particularly in the marketing services business, it's been hit really, really hard. There are going to be more people in the pool. There's going to be more experience in the pool who are out of work, who would be willing to take probably a lesser job at a lesser salary than they would have been prior to the COVID hitting. So when you dump all of these people seeking the same jobs in the pool, it's obviously going to raise that demand, what we call a buyer's market for talent. So we're going to give you the tools this summer to really stand up head and shoulders above the crowd. And so, but that's why we're doing this program this summer. My goal is to put out 30, 40, 50 podcasts with some of the greatest speakers in the world. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to have Commissioner Sankey, the SEC. He's going to talk about job opportunities in college athletics in the post-COVID world with the SEC. Ross Bjork talked about all these amazing things that are going to happen, job opportunities out there now, the sanitization of all the venues, the health and safety of the kids. Taylor Bloom talked about the technology and how technology is going to not only inform the athletic performance, but how it informs the fan experience. Fan experience is going to be another good one. Data analytics is going to be huge because we got to get fans back. We got to know who those fans are. We got to know what motivates them. We got to know what they'd be willing to pay for and not. That's going to be huge. The social media. I will encourage you to begin studying. You'll see a term called NIL. That's name, image, and likeness. So going into 21, student athletes, much like yourself, are going to be able to monetize their content and their name and their image and their likeness. So that's going to create a lot of other job opportunities. And you'll hear with Ross as well, mental health among, you as a general population, student population, and student athlete population is another big rising thing. Things that I really didn't think about with my sort of lens of the College of Liberal Arts. But if you want to be a mental health professional in sports, that's going to be a big one. You want to be a data analytical professional in sports, that's going to be a big one. Content creator, social media, sponsorships, marketing, the over-the-top OTT, that's another term to become familiar with, the streaming of games on handheld devices, and so, or AI, artificial intelligence. So we're going to expose you to all of that. I'm very proud of that. I'm very thankful that I have relationships that I've maintained over the years with many of these speakers. Like I said, Shaul Zizlin, who founded the Hangout Music Festival. You want to get in careers in producing music festivals, because all of these things will come back at some point, whether we have a vaccine or a treatment or a cure for COVID. They're all going to come back, and we want to put you in those positions to win. But know this going in, the campus is the ultimate professional laboratory, and you're going to be in that environment for hopefully 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I stretched it out an extra fall of '84, which was tremendous, and got to witness Bo, got to witness Barkley, got to witness a lot of some of the greatest athletes there are. So again, back to the title, Building Brand You, how to use your college experience to find and win your first job. And then we add that in a post-COVID environment. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And so Lauren Reed, you mentioned that a lot of students stick around, talk, and begin creating relationships. What are some things that students who stick out to you do to make themselves stick out? That's a great question, Lauren. Thank you for asking. So, you never have but one opportunity to make a great first impression. And so whether you've thrown your gym shorts on or your backpack slung over your shoulder, that's more irrelevant to me than the fact that you stood in line, you made that effort to come up and seek me out. Look me in the eye contact. There's nothing to replace that. It's very impressive that somebody has done their homework on me in advance, because I always open it up for Q&As, and so that they ask me an informed question. They're telling me that they have prepared. They know who I am. They're seeking answers. They're seeking opportunities. They want to interact with me. So that's another big marker. Having a business card is a great thing. I know it sounds kind of hokey, but it's actually a big thing, and then I take business cards with me and we exchange cards, because I want people to reach out. I want them to be looking for jobs. And also, I think maybe Adam or Taylor talked about it. We're hiding little Easter eggs or tests to see how you're going to respond, because this is all an ongoing audition all the time. And so, or bringing your resume, that's an impressive thing as well. And again, I don't expect your resume to be 50 pages long. I don't want it to be. You're only 20, 21, 19, 22, whatever. I don't expect you to have that much experience. But so try to get the resume on one page, but bringing the resume as well. And then what really puts it over the top is when I get a really nice handwritten thank you note from a kid from a class that I've spoken to, you automatically zoom to that top for that internship or that employment consideration. So, Lauren, does that, I hope, hit me back. I hope that answers the question. Howard Fishman, you have discussed how hard it is to find a job now because of the increased competition due to COVID. How do you anticipate what the job market will look like in 3 to 4 years? Great question, Howard. Well, let me just tell you this. I'm bullish for our industries because there is always, short of something catastrophic happening in the world, there's always going to be sporting events. There's always going to be music festivals. There's always going to be food festivals. There's always going to be all of these live events. Live events is the social currency now of how we get together as a community and how we get together, and share it online and shareable moments and all those types of things. And then the other things that I just lined out, I never thought about job opportunities in mental health with athletes. I never thought about safety and sanitation other than the usual stuff in the venue. I never thought about the sophistication of fan experiences. I never talked about analyzing the data in analytics. I never talked about using data and analytics and artificial intelligence, performance intelligence for student athletes and the fans as well. Or the event within the event or venue within the venue, the redesign of the fan experience. Never thought about there would be business opportunities in the tailgating space. The tailgate guys, look up the tailgate guys. They probably have an installation that you can help on campus as well. Never thought about, there would be data analytics with mining season ticket information, and then even into the wireless environment, creating the content, connecting the athletes and all those types of things. So I'm really bullish, even more so post-COVID than maybe I would have been pre-COVID, because it's, in chaos, there's opportunity. And so you got to find those spots to pick within opportunity. So I hope that answered that, Howard. Griffin Thomas, when you talk about reaching out to these industry leaders, is LinkedIn the best and only way to get in touch with these speakers is sending them an unsolicited email with your resume too invasive? Great question, Griffin. And I think maybe it was Ross, or I forgot who talked about it yesterday, or Adam or Taylor, but go back and listen to those podcasts. I think LinkedIn is the best networking tool that's ever been created. And I'll just use me as an example. I have over 19,000 followers on LinkedIn. All right. There is a built-in amazing resource and Rolodex and tool for you right in the palm of your hands or right at your keyboard and your fingers and your laptop. And you can go in and look through my 19,000 followers, and you may hit me back and say, hey, do you know so-and-so at Coca-Cola, or do you mind if I use your name? And sometimes I may not know them as well, and I'll tell you that as well. But a very polite introduction on LinkedIn never hurts. And as Taylor said, we might even, maybe not even respond the first time because we want to see what kind of effort you're going to put in there. The second thing is, I'm not necessarily sure attaching a resume in the first reach out into LinkedIn, but maybe the first reach out is like, hey, Mr. Thompson, War Eagle, congrats on the business success. See what you've built. I want to be in this industry. So it shows me you've done the homework. It shows me the effort that you've put in to do the homework and to do the reach out. And the way I usually position it, because I'm kind of doing this, using the same tricks that you are, is I position it as advice seeking more so than job seeking. So, hey, Mr. Thompson, what advice would you give me right now in the market? And if I'm worth the salt, I'm going to respond back to you. And then that's what's called softening the target. So you're beginning to soften that target. And then the next pass is, do you mind if I send you my resume to take a look at? Or do you mind if I, send it to you in an email? Or do you mind if I mail you a copy of it? Will you come get it? So you're establishing a relationship. You're establishing that rapport. And what I say, like I said, in any relationship, kind of softening the target. And then you kind of gradually build up into that. Grayson, Wyndham, what is one thing that previous interns have done that stood out to you that you continue to look for in future interns? I think attitude, and effort? Do you bring the heat every day? Do you try to, look, decent when you come in here? I mean, I wear shorts and t-shirts and things of that nature as well. We have a loose work environment. Are you there early? Are you volunteering to do extra things? Are you staying late? Are you willing to go that extra mile? Because as Ross Bjork said yesterday, that extra mile is going to be that extra mile that you outpaced your other fellow students in the job market. Because at some point, all your classmates, you're going to be competing against for that job. So I think attitude and effort are two big ones. Kelsey O'Loughlin, as you were applying for jobs out of college, you believe you had an advantage over others as a strong writer with articles to show potential employees? Absolutely. I would always walk in with my resume. I would always walk in with my big portfolio that I would take back and forth, but I also, so they could thumb through it, but I would also print a couple of extra copies of a couple of articles that I had written to leave behind so they could read and study my writing. I will tell you that writing, whether it's business writing, presentation writing, PowerPoint writing, creative writing, article writing, blog post, it's a lost art. But it's a form of communication no matter what you're doing, in your real world, in your real job, particularly in events and live events and account management and those types of things. I would encourage you to take as many professional writing classes in different types of environments that you can. Also, probably, I didn't think I could pass them, but I would have taken a handful of just core business courses. I didn't really have that. I'm a right brain guy. I didn't really have that. So take some business courses if you can as well, just basic core knowledge, learn the core. We have an expectation. You'll know Word, you'll know Excel, you'll know PowerPoint, you'll know some of those more sophisticated, versions of software, because to particularly be an account executive, you're sort of like a point guard in an events company or a sports agency, because you wear a lot of hats. Your account management, client management, budget management, event management, pitching ideas constantly as well. So, but absolutely having strong writing skills is always worked out well for me. Francis Dazio, my internship was canceled due to COVID. How can I show that I have experience when my internship was canceled? Will I be behind without a full-time internship? Couple things, Francis. We're all in the same boat. So if I get your resume and it says that you did a virtual internship with Melt, you're not going to really be behind, because internships are going to come back. But what I would encourage you, a couple of things, is on your resume, package your experience with Melt U as this: hey, was able to participate in 50 podcasts with top industry speakers. I was able to learn the chapters of a great book in post job seeking, learn resume writing skills, learn LinkedIn writing skills, learn from some of the best. Then not only that, so package that branding of you within that resume. Secondly, I would encourage you to reach out on LinkedIn and in a handwritten manner to every one of these people that you listen to in the podcast, because you've got that warm intro, you've got that warm lead, you've got that softening the target, soft lead, like, hey, Mr. Dinkins or Mr. Bjork. I still address people in a formal manner until they tell me not to. I enjoyed your podcast with Melt U. Thank you so much. I'm following up. Attached is my resume. Please keep me in consideration. And then you begin that follow up and that relationship building process. So again, it's not like you're not making an effort to be in an internship. There are just no physical internships, or not many of them this summer. And the other thing is, encourage your friends to participate with us. Help them, because we all need to help one another during these crazy, trying times that we are. And so, my goal is to have thousands of people in Melt U through the summer. Is share the podcast, share the Lunch and Learn with your friends, professors, career development. Obviously, also, you're going to get a lot of credit for that, and you will get a live internship or these really cool Paul t-shirts and things of that nature, and you'll be a paid ambassador when you go back to campus. So again, effort and attitude. Caroline Botal, I'm having your father on the podcast actually this afternoon. As a recent grad, networking, looking for jobs in these uncertain times can be challenging and sometimes discouraging. Do you have any advice on how to stay motivated and keep the momentum going in the job hunt? Let me tell you, that's Caroline, tremendous question. And let me tell you this, we're all sort of in this together. And I know that's cliche and all that, but I mean, you know, I'm working from home. A lot of my employees are furloughed. I'm working, you know, with the ones I have on Zoom. I don't have that camaraderie with them every day. I don't have that energy. So some days even it takes a lot to stay motivated. So 2 or 3 things I'll tell you. Try to stay in some type of healthy or normal routine. It'd be easy to sleep late, but try to get up as you can. And then try to establish a routine where you're reading every day within Sports Business Journal, Sport Techie, Front Office Sports, Athletic Director U, D1 Ticker, get a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, and not only use it as a learning and education exercise, but as a networking exercise. I read probably 30 to 40, 50 publications per day. I'm doing it to inform myself on behalf of the agency and my clients, but I'm also doing it as identifying new business leads. So I'm really kind of doing the same thing that you are. And so when you read these articles, not only read them to inform yourself, but also to network yourself. So if you see somebody quoted in that article that's relevant to a job search you're conducting, track that person down through LinkedIn, reach out to them through LinkedIn, find out what their business address is, send them a handwritten note, but try to stay in a routine. I also will tell you, it's okay sometime to not have a good day. It's okay to be off your game, because we're all in this kind of, altered state together. I mean, our world completely stopped on March the 13th. I mean, we were going into the activation of our 18th Final Four. And so, but stay in a routine. If you have the ability to get out of the house a little bit, get some fresh air, try to get a little exercise if you can, and then set a goal for yourself. Say, okay, I want to read this many publications per week. I want to read this many podcasts, listen to this many podcasts per week. And I want to do an exercise that, hey, I'm going to try to send 5 outreaches per week. So if you were to look at that from a math perspective, that would be 12 weeks in the summer, which is 60 business days. And if you did, 5 per week, that would be dozens of outreach per week. You want to try to have maybe 100 by the end of summer, because again, a fishing analogy, you got to make 100 casts to get 8 bites to land 2 fish, or those job bites. So it's all going to be a numbers game. It's all going to be a volume game, and you got to play the long game in this as well. So I hope that helped, Carolyn. Drew Thruckout, our friend Paul Feinbaum, says to tell you hello. Where did you get that shirt? I love it. Well, Paul, let me go back to relationship building. I met Paul literally 40 years ago this summer at the Ken Stabler football camp. And yes, he had hair, and yes, he had a beard. He was a sports writer for the Birmingham Post-Herald. And 40 years later, he's my brother. We talk all the time. He's given me tremendous exposure for my business. We share a lot of things together. So I had these shirts made in his honor. And so if you guys will, send us your shirt sizes, and you complete all your tasks or most of your tasks for the summer, we're going to make sure that everybody gets their own personal Paul Feinbaum, you got it here first, t-shirt. You notice we got some great art going on in here as well. Obviously, we're going to send you the book, and hopefully we're going to create on-campus opportunities for you as well. When you go back paid, put some money in your pocket, and then somebody's going to win a coveted paid internship here as well. So in closing, let's see, do we have any chats I need to follow up on? Lauren says, thank you. Caroline, yep. Feinbaum, I think we got them all. So again, we got some tremendous podcasts. Go back and listen to those podcasts. We've got more podcasts coming up. We got great speakers on board. We're going to teach the chapters of these books every week live. You're able to interact with me. I would encourage you to interact with me as well. And go back and listen to the podcast, network with those participants through LinkedIn. Tell them you appreciate their time. Tell them you gained a lot of knowledge. Interact with them in LinkedIn, find out how you can communicate with them with a handwritten note and those types of things. And so, I am so excited, so thrilled, so honored that you guys have joined me and you're taking your time. And I'm hoping this is beginning to help and make an impact and an impression. I see a lot of positive comments on social media. I would also encourage you to share these with your friends. Encourage them to sign up. It's not too late to sign up, because all they've got to do is go re-listen to a handful of podcasts that are out there right now. They're on iTunes, they're on Apple, they're on Spotify, they're on our social media followings. We put these sessions back out. Share this with everybody, because the more people you refer and share, the more points you're going to gain and the more opportunities you are to network with me and intern here, live. So make sure you get out and share the Lunch and Learns. Make sure you get out and share the podcast. Make sure you encourage your classmates and your friends and your colleagues to sign up. Inform your teachers, inform your career development officers at your campus of what's going on here. Let's spread this word. And by the end of the summer, hopefully, we've helped thousands and thousands of kids. And hopefully, if I can help just one of you thousand, I will have fulfilled my mission, fulfilled my dream, fulfilled my journey. I've always wanted to take this in a virtual environment, and I'm just so honored and proud that we're able to share this with you. And again, I thank you as much as you would thank me for this opportunity to share this in a virtual environment, albeit under kind of crazy circumstances. Hopefully some good silver linings will come out of this. So, wow, another hour. Mimi Hill, look forward to connecting you next time you visit the Auburn Athletic Departments. I'll be back there. We're going to have Alan Green hopefully on soon. We had Kyle Sherman, who's over Fox, who's over the Auburn media rights. Chris Davis, my dear friend, just went to take a big AD position over at Georgia Southern. But I love talking to the students, love talking about career development, and branding with students and student athletes. So building brand new, that's the theme this summer with virtual Melt University, summer 2020. I'm Vince Thompson, founder, chairman, CEO of Melt, and we'll see you next Wednesday on virtual Summer Melt U 2020. Thank you so much.